Muir Woods sits about 16 miles north of San Francisco, a stand of old-growth coast redwoods, some of the oldest living things on Earth, protected inside a quiet monument in the hills. It's a walk anyone can take, a place for someone who's simply curious about a tree that's been standing since before most nations existed. The canopy overhead looks quiet, but it isn't empty. Somewhere in these old trees, a spotted owl may be roosting, unseen. Near the start, a fallen trunk's rings lay out its whole life. Born around 909, already 3 centuries old when the cliff dwellings rose at Mesa Verde. It stood through Columbus, through the Gold Rush, through 1908 when Muir Woods became a monument, and finally fell in 1930. A tree that outlived nations, in a single slice of wood. A sign nearby explains a scar like this. The trunk died, likely from repeated fire, and only a blackened stump was left standing. But the roots underneath stayed alive, and new trees grew up in a ring around it. They call it a family circle. The main path is boardwalk and flat. Anytime, you can just walk back. A sign nearby explains where it all begins. A redwood seed smaller than a grain of rice, needing fire or flood to clear the ground before it can even take root. Further down, the canopy view trail breaks off, climbing up near tree level, a longer route that eventually comes back down and rejoins the path near the end of the walk. The creek runs quietly alongside the boardwalk here, easy to miss underfoot. The trail brushes right up against a tangle of exposed roots, reaching out along the surface instead of digging down, which is exactly how a redwood holds itself up. When the sun does break through, it's worth stopping and looking straight up. The view from underneath is beautiful. The wooden walkway is there to protect the roots. When you look closely at the bark on these redwoods, thick, shaggy, and split into long vertical strips, unlike the smooth bark on a fruit tree. That's armor. Redwood bark can grow over a foot thick, and it's built to survive fire. The loose, fibrous layers trap heat before it reaches the living wood inside. The bark also carries natural tannins, which keep insects and rot away. A fruit tree never needed that kind of protection. It grows fast, lives a short life, and stays smooth. A redwood plans to stand for centuries, through fire after fire. The bark is built for that timeline. Some of these trunks carry old fire scars, blackened, hollowed out, and they're still standing, still alive. The trail crosses the creek here on a simple wooden bridge. And crossing it, we notice something striking. The forest floor stays remarkably clear, with none of the fallen leaves and dense branches you'd expect in a forest this old. Coast redwoods drop very little foliage, and their tannin-rich bark naturally resists rot, so branches and debris never really pile up beneath these giants. Emerging from the quiet of the canyon floor, the trail opens up onto the ridgeline, and the light changes with it. The flat boardwalk gives way to a real dirt path climbing upward. The trees thin out a little higher up, and for the first time on the walk, we get a sense of just how far this forest stretches. Looking back one last time at the canopy below, the walk comes full circle. Long before any of us arrived, the tradition already held trees as teachers, quiet ones, standing still long enough for a person to learn something. We leave with that same stillness, and a memory to return to whenever peace is needed. More of these walks are on the channel.